Hello, what is going on, guys? This is G here, and welcome back to another video of Top Drives. Today we are going to take a peek into the most recent update, which was just recently released, named Japan Pro Tour. Japanese cars are around since the beginning with Honda, Infiniti, Mitsubishi, Nissan and Subaru. Later, two major refreshments came. Not long after the global launch, Suzuki was added, and during the summer of 2018, Mazda also joined the game. Aside of car corrections and the 7th brand entering 3 years ago, not much happened to this collection, therefore having an update for this country is filling up a huge gap. This time the existing brands get an improvement, even though there are long-awaited brands such as Toyota or Lexus, and not that huge ones like Isuzu or Daihatsu, which are still missing from the game. Hopefully soon those will enter as well. Nevertheless, let's take a look what we received during this update. I will begin with the official communication. There are plenty of modifications coming with this update. Most of them are either UI related or visual changes, such as brand emblem alignment to the most recent version. What is more important is that now you can lock the cars on the car selection screen, and the holding pulse timer is going to be accurate. Thumbs up for this, it's great to finally have them sorted. The point accumulation part will be rather significant. Slowering for some of the tracks is a great step up, as you could say goodbye to many matches if you couldn't perform on these tracks. I'm happy to see it, I cannot wait to give them a try. Despite of these, around updates the most exciting items are always the new cars and the stat, RQ, rarity changes. This video will contain the two small manufacturers which got a refreshment, then I will dedicate a video for each of the big boys. After I have gone through a brand, I will also make a list of the top cars which I am the most excited about. Let's jump to the list without further hesitation. So also in alphabetical order, the first is Infiniti. Until this update arrived, I have always considered Infiniti as a mediocre manufacturer with not much attention to it. Just like Volvo before the European Revolution. There were a few cars listed, but never felt there is a serious emphasis. Occasionally events or challenges required some of them, but that was all. Not even the cars had any of the tags before. Okay, I admit around 4 or 5 of them are essential cars, but the rest were not much memorable. Hopefully this changes now. There is finally a legendary, the Eau Rouge. Its main features are the 4-wheel drive and the medium clearance. Unfortunately, it can be only claimed through events, so you won't find it in a pack. It's not that light, but quite powerful, not huge torque though, okayish top speed, a good MRA could make it a key car. Hopefully its racing quota would suggest a good one. Keep in mind, MRA information is not available for all the freshly added cars at the moment. Slightly weaker version is the Q60 Black S, with rear-wheel drive, low clearance and a bit more of torque. Still, it can be a fine epic. Next is the FX Vettel Edition trophy car, which looks like the QX with more power and a tiny bit more of handling, but also weight. Since the QS is an asset, this could be simply fantastic. Let's continue with the M56, which is hopefully better than the already existing standard tire sedans, which have been always a bit underwhelming. Here it's pumped up with power. Unless there is an extreme MRA, I'm not certain I would personally chase this. Next in the line is the FX45, which looks like a differently tuned QX70. More powerful, lighter, faster, but a bit less handling. Looking like another key car. I wish not only the SUVs would be outstanding, but this time actually useful passenger cars would enter the game from this brand. That being said, here comes the MRG with excellent Lotus-like handling, impressive 0 to 60, massive torque. On the other hand, it's rather heavy, and it's a pity that the fun only lasts until 130 miles per hour. It can be still a hero on curvy tracks, but I suppose it's too heavy for slaloms. EX looks great in terms of stats, considering only 67 quota is required. Could be an epic performance version of the already existing FX35, just much faster and lighter, which is a great deal for the extra quotas. The Q50 seems to be another boring sedan, not particularly great, at least it's medium clearance. Although it could be an amazing, one of the best B-class car, stats-wise identical to the RQ64 Alpine, but you only need super rare to upgrade that one. As it is, it's pretty much forgettable. With this we have reached the Ultras. The Q70 looks similar to the already existing M45, with a bit more of power and torque. It could be useful on wet tracks, and also the eco-friendly tag might increase its utility. The QX80 seems to be an exciting choice unless you need to turn. Monstrous acceleration and torque, on the downside not so great handling and heavy as a rock. First I have seen it, I immediately put into the same bracket as the Trailblazer. The Q50S might be just fine. Looks similar to the Daytona with less RQ, top speed and weight, and unfortunately also torque. Cannot wait to compare it to the Dodge to figure out if we finally have a usable B-Class Infiniti with performance tires. Unlike this car, which goes on standard and looks simply devastating. The handling could be way better, 0 to 60 is not horrible, so only an acceptable MRA can save the Q45 from the junkyard. The Q60S is the cheaper version of the Q50S. Heavier, low clearance, same power, at least it performs better in terms of top speed, yet I'm not amazed. The G37 is similar, but with more power and handling, less RQ and weight, not utterly impressed. The QX60 might worth keeping to have a low RQ all-terrain in case of emergency. Its stats are somewhat okay, but there are better cars for this purpose. On the other hand, the QX56 weighs more than 2.7 tons, lacks handling, acceleration would be nice, but it doesn't have the top speed to combine with. The Escalade is a better all-surface dragster. Last Ultra is another Q60 with more power and quite low RQ. This might be a good value for money. I'm excited to try it. The super rare tier did not receive much of an improvement, only 2 cars. The QX4, it's quite heavy, low handling and not much power for the class. Even the Navara looks like a better choice, at least that has traction control. The i35 might not be that bad, okayish handling, standard tire, passable power and 0 to 60, if only the top speed would be higher, still not what you will chase all the time. The Q45 could deliver on wet brakes due to strong speed and power. Just a bit more of handling would have been lovely to see. While the J30 is slow, heavy and has no TC, not the best combination with standard tire. G20 is much lighter, fine grip, not so fast, it's a pity it doesn't have TC. The i30 and the M30 are not remarkable either. Rather average uncommon cars, at least the latter one is convertible, but there is not much sense in collecting them. And now we have reached the end of the Infiniti list. Here are my thoughts about them. Aside of 1 or 2 great cars, Infiniti stays within the SUV bracket. Many of them look fantastic, but they are still lacking big time in the passenger car territory. I cannot blame Hutch, it's a bit like in reality. My best picks from the brand are rather easy ones. I'm looking out for the Eau Rouge, the Q60 Black S with almost 100 MRA, the FX Vettel, the FX45, the MRG and the EX35. Question mark category is the QX80 for drags and maybe the entry Q60. And what are your top picks and question marks from this bunch of cars? Let me know in the comment box below. Next we continue, not exactly in alphabetical order anymore, but here comes Suzuki. First we have a new Pikes Peak car, which is a legendary as well, but this time off-road instead of all-surface. Slightly worse stats than the XL7, however the new car is lighter, shall be an asset on non-asphalt roads for sure. It can be obtained through events, hence be prepared. Then we go to Epic. Hayabusa Sport is a super light car. It's based on a motorbike after all, as the name suggests. Therefore the power nominally is not so great, However, it shall still perform very well due to its lightness. I can imagine this competing Caterhams on slalom. Rain will not be its favorite, but at least there is ABS contrary to the Donkerfoots for instance. Next we have this thing. Not 100% sure if we went to Matchbox or still around real cars. Well, there have been some weird cars in the automotive history coming from Japan. Oh, it's called also GSX-R, another motorbike, rather similar to the Hayabusa, with slightly worse stats all around, but roadster type is fantastic. MRA will be an interesting aspect for both, as normally the slalom cars don't shine on top speed, but both new Suzukis can go 180 without tunes. Now we move to the Ultras, to another weird looking fellow. The previous setup is kept, another lightweight car here, shall go for twisties as well. 0 to 60 is extraordinary. I suspect MRA will not be the same, but the handling is on Donkerfoot level and we are quite light once again. And we still have ABS, can be a great choice against the Dutchman. Next up is the Ignition Slick, not great 0 to 60, however remarkable handling and it's medium height and quite light. If the MRA is not messed, this shall be the next hero for city maps. Then we have a new picture for an old car, the Ignis. Unfortunately rather new than correct, what we see here is not one from 2016. The discarded image was the right one, hope will be rectified soon. Then we get flooded by Jimneys, and it's a bit confusing. We had the original currently super rare car, but then the green Jimny, which is only rare, looks stronger on stats. It has even a full set of driving aids, shall be interesting to test and it's still very light. I presume this car is mostly useful on curvy muddy tracks where no high speed is needed. A lower RQ version is the blue one, which is slower and handles less well. Still ABS and traction control are there, which will make it a rather useful car. This unfortunately also means that the remaining SUVs are a bit redundant, 5 more Vitara and Jimny just within 2 RQ. Almost identical in terms of stats, aside of one, the rest are produced in the same decade. I recommend to keep the Jimny 1000, which comes from the 80s, then either the heavier Vitara with ABS or the lighter without it. After the Ruckus, we have the Swiss Sport with medium ride height, decent handling, low quota. For me, this is a keeper for sure. Worth noting that the already existing Swiss Sport goes now on performance tires instead of standard with this update. Then the green tier starts with a green car, Swift Hybrid. Not super quick, but rare car level of handling with full driving aids and it's still relatively light. Next we have a not so mighty looking boy. This one I would like to test. It looks completely worthless for 24 RQs, aside of the fact that it's super light, has medium clearance and rolls on standard tires. Might do well on tracks where it can utilize these, mainly on wet and curvy. Now we meet the Swift GTI. Light, nimble, grippy to its class, mid-height, easy keeper for me. After that, another keeper is the Alto Turbo, 4-wheel drive, mid-clearance, light, all driving aids, perfect car in rain. Actually, there are not many cars in this RQ area with this combination, so definitely take a hand on at least one. After that is the Suzuki Kara, not sure about the pronunciation. Is the Suzuki version of the Autozam. I don't think anything else need to be said. Keeper, Chevrolet Lacetti or instead Suzuki Forenza. It's the food category for me. If you have spare slots in your garage, maybe in 20 years time there will be a specific event when you need exactly this car, otherwise no need to keep it. With this, we reach the small fries. The Ertiga might do the job, great on wet, standard grippy, has ABS and traction control, not horrible acceleration, a bit heavy though, but at least it has medium clearance. AutoWorks is the next with mind-blowing 63 horsepower, but with no weight at all, medium clearance again, it's an easy twisty car for me. Hustler Turbo is almost the complete opposite. Not looking super reliable, there are better cars with similar RQ and specs, at least there is an eco-friendly tag and an SUV category. Then there is this, a truck. I hope MAN also soon enters top drives. I cannot wait to test my McLaren against a TGX. The high clearance could be interesting, but then you have only standard tires and rear-wheel drive. Not so sure about this. Then the Servo and the Swift, looking like a quicker Subaru Rex to me, might do great on wet slaloms. Servo is lighter, Swift is mid-height and can reach 100 miles per hour. Not a must-have, but worth keeping at least one of them, as the Rex was the hero of a challenge not so long ago. More interesting is the Suzuki Cappuccino. It has almost better stats than the Honda Beat, but only 14 RQ. It's just simply a must-have. Light, nimble and grippy. As a bonus you even get ABS, will be used a lot in club races. Then the Fronte seems easy fuse with horrible stats to me. Turning to the finish with the Swift, which is already much better than the previous Fronte, looks okay to me considering only asks for 13 RQ. Medium clearance, standard tires, passable stats altogether. Last but not least, the K works. Light, 10 RQ, almost 70 handling to start with, medium clearance ABS, great car to take to the twisties. And now, as we discuss the Suzukis, here is my view about them. I enjoyed this garage a lot more than the Infiniti. There is a huge versatility here, from all-terrain to slick tire cars, and many of them will be an asset on certain maps or road conditions. If only Super Rare got an update, and would have been lovely to see more cars on Ultra. My top picks are the obvious Pikes Peak, the Hayabusa, the Ignis Super with medium clearance, the Alto Turbo, and of course the Cappuccino. The runner-ups are the GSX, the C2 and the Swift Sports. Altogether a great selection of cars, cannot wait to use them, so now I go and farm them out. We meet in the next video, which will continue the garage tour of the new update with Nissans. Thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, until next time.